It's a new week and also the launch week now for Season 1 within Black Ops Cold War. And I gotta say, Treyarch are really ramping up stuff we get to see firsthand, because today they actually dropped a few more things from Treyarch's channels as well as the official Call of Duty channels. We ended up getting a couple of blog posts and also some trailers and gameplay videos of what we'll see here coming within Season 1. So today we're gonna break down everything that you need to know in relation to that upcoming Season 1 launch, so you're ready to go right out of the gate. As we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What are you guys looking forward to the most within Season 1? For me, it's definitely that Warzone integration. I'm very excited to jump into Verdansk and Rebirth Island with brand new weapons to play around with here in terms of that Warzone experience. So that's me, but where are you at here at this? Let me know in the comments below. But as well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep you up to date with all things Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and Season 1 content, because we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about over the next couple of days. So that said, if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. That said, let's talk about this new information we got. So two of the big focal points for this game's Season 1 launch today that we got for information was the Warzone integration and then a little bit about the Battle Pass. And then we, of course, got a lot of talk about the different maps, modes, and everything that we've seen a little bit of before already, but we'll recap that here after the newer stuff is kind of on the table for everybody. As for the Warzone side in particular, we got some information about Rebirth Island, the two new Gulag Experiences, and a little bit here throughout that. Now, as for Rebirth Island itself, again, this is Alcatraz at its base, but there's a little bit more to it. There's a few extensions that were not there in the original. There's some new accessible areas that were not as well, but it's rebuilt for Warzone's engine, and you can see that through some of the different fly-throughs that we saw in gameplay sequences, drop-in sequences, stuff like that, where you can see the design is a little bit different. We'll have some of those mechanics that we had within Modern Warfare, such as the ladders to climb up things in areas that there were not ladders beforehand, but it is something that's built out now for Warzone. But overall, this isn't going to be something that's replacing Verdansk. This is just a secondary style of play, an alternate way to play Battle Royale and Warzone with some fast-paced CQB action, but we'll have locations like the living quarters, which was previously the warden's offices. We'll see the construction site and shore, the factory, the harbor, the prison block, the decon zone or decontamination zone, the chemical engineering and such, as well as a little bit of an extension in the security area behind the living quarters, similar to where the broken down ship was post Alcatraz update, whenever that got some adjustments made to it later on in Black Ops 4's main year of support. But that stuff will be coming with Rebirth Island here at launch. But as for the new Gulag Experiences, we got some discussion about this, and it was detailed by Ryan Burnett, senior executive producer at Raven, in which we'll have a new Gulag for both Verdansk as well as Rebirth Island. Now, Verdansk, if we're going back into that sort of classic Warzone feel here, instead of going to the Gulag, the prison, you're now transported to a more Black Ops themed Gulag, in which you're strapped to an interrogation chair and you have to break out of it to actually view the other fights. Whereas you started out in the actual prison cell within the original Gulag, that's that sort of sequence where if you want to go and look at the other fighters, you have to break out of the interrogation chair. But it's going to be set on a small scale Nuketown training facility, similar to the training facility in Red Light, Green Light in the campaign, where it's meant for some live fire drills and things like that. So it's a smaller scale version of Nuketown, which is pretty cool. As for Rebirth Island, that's something that takes place in the depths of Rebirth Island itself. And one interesting feature here with this Gulag is that there's going to be metal detectors for this map in particular. So if you have a headset, it will give you that spatial awareness to know where a player may have just crossed the threshold of, if it was to your left or your right, and can maybe help you predict a gunfight situation a little better. But that was stuff that we learned about Warzone that we hadn't really seen beforehand, which is pretty cool. And I, of course, love to see that footage that we saw going along with it, and I'm excited to jump into it. But the next thing that they really detailed here as sort of first initial details is that of the Battle Pass content and a trailer that went along with it. In the background, we'll put the trailer here for you guys so you can check out some of what we're talking about as we go along, but it gave us a preview of the tiers and what was coming in the Battle Pass. Now, I know the Battle Pass is a huge hotbed of discussion right now. If you want to get it, go for it. If you don't, it's entirely up to you, but we're just talking about simply the new content here that was showed off, and whatever you do, that's entirely up to you. I have absolutely no right to tell you what to do or what not to do. Just do whatever makes you happy here at this. But the interesting part that was really detailed here out of this, outside of the content itself, was that we learned for the very first time it progresses no matter what game you play. Now, we knew previously that it was going to be progressing within Black Ops Cold War and Warzone, since those were the two that was always tethered together from the very beginning. This initial introduction that we'd see the Battle Pass returning here with Warzone and Black Ops Cold War. But interestingly, it was finally confirmed that even playing Modern Warfare will continue that Battle Pass progression here for what we see introduced with Season 1. So whether or not there's going to be Modern Warfare items, I don't necessarily know that, but it is interesting to see that Modern Warfare, that secondary game here, still does progress it like it will with your regular overall rank for each season now. So an interesting addition here to the information that we know of, but that was what was given to us about the Battle Pass as of today. Now, as for other content, of course, that comes down to multiplayer, maps, modes, things like that we've partially seen. So to recap a little bit, but also fill in the gaps with some new information, we of course have the multiplayer maps of the Pines, Raid, and Nuketown Holiday. The Pines being the only real brand new map here of the Season 1 offering for MP, but that taking place again in the 80s style shopping mall and shopping district. So a lot of cool stuff. Aesthetically is going to be there probably. Raid returning in a similar fashion to what we see with some design elements, but other than that, untouched from the original format, which will be great for, as they mentioned, competitive play, and for those that really loved Raid. You're not going to be missing a beat. If you know the jump spots, the flank routes, everything like that will be exactly the same here for that. And Nuketown Holiday, again, just a nighttime reskinned variation of Nuketown coming along as well. Now, as for the new modes, we actually did get a little bit of information coming about some new stuff that we hadn't really seen beforehand. We saw the full confirmation of the new mode Dropkick, which looks really interesting, actually. It almost feels like a sort of King of the Hill type of mode, but with a much bigger payoff probably at the end. But Dropkick is something where you fight over the nuclear football briefcase. That's spawning at the center of the map, and your goal, of course, is to control this for as long as possible and hit that score limit. Once you end up picking up the briefcase, if you do as the player, you end up having just a pistol in hand while carrying this. There's also no respawns for your team while your team holds that nuclear football. So definitely a high risk, high reward thing here for playing the objective, but you gain score as you hold that briefcase naturally. Then it seems like a nuke actually may go off for the winner of the match as a sort of post-match cinematic that may happen similar to the nuke in Modern Warfare. But that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Dropkick will be coming later in season, it said. Prop Hunt will be something that returns within Cold War right at launch, so if you want to jump in for some crazy shenanigans there, you can as of this Wednesday. Then we also have Combined Arms Hardpoint being introduced with Season 1 as well, in which it's Hardpoint, but 12v12, so getting a little crazy here and a little hectic, so that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. 2v2 gunfight, of course, returning. We have U-Bahn, ICBM, KGB, and Game Show. We knew of those here from the last week or so and the official confirmations of those. And Fireteam gets a small adjustment here, not only in the modes that we'll see come throughout the season, but also we'll get a brand new map, that Sanatorium map, the large scale. They mentioned it's the largest Fireteam map that we'll have now on offer of the three, so I'm excited to see how that one plays. Excited to jump into that. Fireteam is kind of hit or miss with me, I think. I like the large scale combat of it, but sometimes it plays incredibly too hectic or incredibly too slow. So if you can find that middle ground, I find it really enjoyable, but it really comes down to the lobby. As for the modes coming along with Fireteam, we'll see that introduced within Season 1 at some point. We'll see Fireteam Duos, which is still 10 teams, but then only teams of 2. So much lower player count here on that one. I'm curious if they'll cut off some of the map here to make that a little bit more of the same pace and action, but with less players. That'll be interesting to see how that works out. But then there's Fireteam Endurance, which instead of 5 active dirty bombs needing to be exploded before those refresh and we get 5 new ones, if one is detonated, another one in that same location takes the place. So you're always going to have bombs active, and it's just essentially ramping up the pace in which you can get score. And talking about score, we did get the confirmation that a new Scorestreak will be coming here with this one, the HARP, or the High Altitude Recon Plane, in which it is very much so like a VSAT. It's directional. There is no counter to it, including Ghost, which will be interesting, and it comes along for 6,000 score, which is probably why we ended up seeing some of those score streaks adjusted here over the last couple of days, in which we had to flip-flopped and some values adjusted. But the interesting part is that, again, while there is no counter to it, there is a way to actually destroy it, shooting it down, which is interesting in and of itself because it's a high altitude recon plane, meaning that it's almost out of the atmosphere. So a ground-based launcher can somehow take that out. I don't know, design element wise, it's not really something that makes the most sense to me, but there is that hard counter to it, not necessarily something you can equip as a perk. Now, the final thing that we learned about this was that we're not going to be seeing any Zombies DLC in terms of new maps until at least the start of Season 2 here, it looks like. So if you're holding out hope for some sort of new map coming within Season 1, unfortunately, that's not the case. We will have those 2 new modes coming, Cranked and Jingle Hells, but other than that, Zombies is still going to be kind of bare. So if you're a fan of MP and Warzone, great times to be had, it seems like, but Zombies, it might be a long month or two here until you get something substantial. But that said, that is what we learned here as the Season 1 preview for Black Ops Cold War, and what we learned out of the handful of things we learned from Call of Duty socials as well as Treyarch socials today. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What are you guys looking forward to within Season 1? Anything in particular? Again, I'm very much so looking forward to that Warzone integration, but I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. We're getting all things Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and anything Season 1 related. We're going to have a ton of stuff to talk about here within the next coming days to weeks, so stick it here on the channel. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. I live on both those. If you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.